They lied to you. They told you that caring makes you noble, that explaining makes you wise, that being liked is the path to respect. But here's the truth no one dares to say out loud. The more they understand you, the easier it is to control you. And in a world built on manipulation, that makes you a target, not a leader. This isn't a motivational speech, it's a funeral. We're here to bury the version of you that begged for approval, explained your every move, and gave loyalty to people who didn't even deserve your silence. And from the ashes, a colder, sharper, more powerful version of you will rise. Inspired by the ruthless clarity of Machiavelli, this video is a blueprint for reclaiming your authority. We're talking about self-mastery, strategic influence, emotional discipline, and the brutal art of commanding respect without saying a single word. If you've ever felt tired of being the one who cares more, good, that's your signal to evolve. You'll discover why silence is stronger than any argument, why burning bridges isn't cruelty, it's clarity, and why the most dangerous man isn't the loudest in the room, but the one who can disappear without explanation. But be warned, once you learn this mindset, there's no going back. You'll stop needing closure, you'll stop reacting, and you'll start winning in ways they'll never see coming. If this message already hit something deep inside, don't say anything, just let it sit. And if you've ever been the one who gave too much, dropped too low, or stayed too long, tell me in the comments which version of yourself you're leaving behind today. Subscribe now, because this isn't another video. This is psychological warfare, and it's time you learned how to win.
Remember that version of you that kept quiet just to keep the peace? The one that stayed in the room too long, hoping someone would finally see your worth? That version is dead, and that's not a tragedy. That's a breakthrough. Machiavelli wouldn't have had time for someone who begged for respect. In the real world, power isn't granted to the polite. It's taken by those who stop apologizing for existing. Most people confuse being kind with being useful. But in philosophy, especially through Machiavelli's lens, usefulness without strategy is just servitude. That old you, always available, constantly agreeable, endlessly exhausted, that was a servant, not a leader. Now you're stepping into a space of authority. And trust me, some people will walk away. Let them. Their loyalty was tied to your submission. The first step towards self-mastery is mourning your own naivety. You don't owe anyone an explanation for leveling up. You don't need permission to reclaim your time, your energy, your power. The world respects decisive movement, not emotional confusion. Whoever doesn't understand your silence probably exploited your noise. This is the painful side of personal development, and the most essential one. People loved the predictable version of you, the agreeable, soft, always there version. But Machiavellian strategy demands clarity, not comfort. Respect isn't given to the accessible, it's earned by those who learn the art of detachment. If your silence doesn't shift the energy in the room, you haven't mastered your influence yet. Speak less, observe more. Let your authority speak before your voice does. Here's a practical move. Write down who you were and who you're becoming. Treat it like writing a eulogy. Then burn it, literally. Let the smoke carry your old self away. It may sound dramatic, but rituals trigger psychological anchoring. That's how personal transformation begins, with fire, not comfort. Some call it symbolism. I call it strategy. Be warned, your new presence will confuse people. They'll say you've changed. Of course, you have. Growth isn't meant to be digestible. And the moment you stop trying to be understood, the world starts trying to figure you out. That's when influence begins, the kind of influence rooted in self-respect, power, and total emotional control. And yet, right after this rebirth comes the trap, the temptation to start caring too soon, too quickly. That's where most fall back into the same old cycle. But you won't, because you're about to learn what happens when care becomes a weapon against your own authority.
Caring is expensive, and most people are emotionally bankrupt because they gave too much to those who gave nothing back. Machiavelli would say, never offer value before measuring its return. When you care too early, too deeply, too freely, you create an imbalance of power. You give away your influence before earning any respect. And when people don't fear losing you, they stop valuing you. Most individuals confuse compassion with currency. But let's be honest, when you hand out attention and loyalty without requiring proof of character, you set yourself up to be drained. Think of every time you defended someone who never showed up for you. Every time you stayed when you should have walked. That wasn't kindness, it was emotional debt. Strategy means learning to invest wisely, not blindly. In the game of power, giving is not always generous. Sometimes it's reckless. You think you're building trust by giving access to your energy, but without boundaries, you're just offering yourself up for manipulation. Respect isn't born out of generosity. It grows from discernment. The ones who value you most are often the ones you made work for your time. Want to shift your authority? Make people earn your care. Here's something few realize. Emotional investment without criteria is sabotage. If you don't have a filter for who gets your attention, your peace will always be under threat. Apply this in real life. Start tracking who leaves you drained after conversations, who always needs something but offers nothing, who's loyal only when it benefits them. These are not just bad relationships, they are threats to your self-leadership. When you care too fast, your judgment gets blurry. You start excusing disloyalty, tolerating incompetence, forgiving betrayal. This isn't kindness, it's strategic blindness. And Machiavelli warned, a man who can't separate emotion from logic will always be ruled by someone who can. You either master your emotions or they become your enemy. And make no mistake, enemies love a bleeding heart. Want a new habit? Practice delayed empathy. Feel less. Observe more. Don't assume everyone deserves your energy. Create standards, boundaries, a cost of entry. Make your care a privilege, not a free gift. When you raise your value, the world responds. And the right people will rise to meet you. The wrong ones will resent you. Both reactions are data. Use it. Now here's the part most avoid, because once you learn to care less, you gain clarity. But clarity demands you act. And acting means walking away from situations and even people that once felt essential. Which leads us into the next lesson Machiavelli would insist on, the danger of emotion without calculation. Emotion is powerful, but without control, it becomes a leash. The moment you feel before you think, you surrender your authority. Machiavelli never condemned emotion itself. He condemned the timing of it. Power lies in feeling after you've measured, not before. When you allow others to trigger emotional responses in you, they control the game, and worse, they know it. Most people don't realize this. Emotion creates bias, and bias clouds strategy. You start justifying disrespect. You start defending the ones who hurt you. You stay in rooms that damage you just because they once made you feel good. That's not loyalty. That's addiction. If you want true leadership over yourself, you must learn to feel later, not first. Think of the moments that weakened you. How many of them began with emotion? A snap decision, a rushed text, a reaction you later regretted. Strategic living means slowing down that space between stimulus and response. If someone disrespects you, don't explode. Go silent. Silence is a pause, and in that pause, you regain control. You reclaim your influence. Here's an exercise. Next time someone pushes your buttons, don't respond. Not for an hour, not even for a day. Journal what you wanted to say, then look at it 24 hours later. 9 times out of 10, your response will change. That delay is emotional discipline. That's self-respect in action. It's how you train your nervous system to serve your power, not sabotage it. When you react impulsively, you become readable, and a readable person is easy to disarm. Machiavelli warned, the more predictable you are, the less dangerous you become. So your unpredictability must begin with emotional restraint. Don't let them know what shakes you. Let them guess. Confusion, after all, is leverage. If you've ever felt like people walk all over you, check your patterns. Do you over-explain? Do you rush to forgive? Do you answer instantly when someone disrespects your time? Those are not signs of strength. They are signs of misplaced emotion. To reclaim your power, you must reclaim your pace. Slow responses are not weakness, they're calculated leadership. And once you stop letting emotion write the script, something strange happens. The world gets quieter. You gain space to observe. And when you observe long enough, you start seeing patterns. Who's genuine, who's manipulative, who moves with strategy. That's when you'll need the next law in this Machiavellian journey. Never commit before you observe movement.
In the game of power, the first to commit is usually the first to lose. Machiavelli taught, observe first, move second. The reason? People reveal themselves not through words, but through patterns. And if you commit before those patterns emerge, you gamble your respect, your energy, and your authority on illusions. In this world, rushing into loyalty is like signing a contract without reading the fine print. Watch how people treat boundaries. That tells you everything. Do they respect your time? Do they follow through? Do they honor your silence? These things aren't small, they're signals. Strategic minds gather data before they invest. The weak hand out care and loyalty like flyers on a street corner. The strong stay quiet, calculating the cost of connection before offering even a drop of trust. Imagine this. You meet someone new, friend, partner, or business ally. They say all the right things, compliment you, mirror your values, make big promises. It feels good, right? But a Machiavellian strategist doesn't act on feeling alone. They observe behavior over time. Anyone can charm you for a week. Only a few can remain consistent for months. Make time your filter. Apply this. Delay your commitments. Don't say yes quickly. Don't promise before you've seen someone under pressure. Loyalty should never be emotional. It should be earned. If they get defensive when you hesitate, that's your signal. You want a partner in strategy, not a liability in disguise. Be like a chess master. Never play your queen until you've read the board. When you commit too soon, you trap yourself. And once you've invested emotionally, your logic starts to shrink. That's how manipulators thrive. They push for early commitment. Why?
Because once you're in, they can start bending the rules. They've already got your energy. Now they want your obedience. But not you, not anymore. You've learned. Leaders don't move based on flattery. They move based on results. You want to dominate your life? Start treating every interaction as a test. Who adds clarity? Who creates chaos? Who shows up without being asked? These answers come with time, not emotion. The Machiavellian mind doesn't chase. He waits, studies, adapts. And once you master the art of strategic hesitation, you'll notice something else. Your silence begins to speak for you. You won't need to explain your standards. They'll feel it. But this, of course, opens the door to your next power move, the silence that unsettles and conquers.
Silence isn't emptiness. It's a message. And often, it's louder than anything you could ever say. Machiavelli understood that real power doesn't argue, doesn't beg, doesn't plead. It simply withdraws. When you stop reacting, you shift the frame. You stop being someone they can manipulate emotionally, and you become someone they can't quite read. And the unreadable man? He's feared. Most people are addicted to noise. They think that explaining more, talking more, defending more earns respect. But in truth, it often just exposes your weakness. The more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you explain, the more predictable you become. Silence, on the other hand, forces others to sit with their own actions, and few people can survive that confrontation. Ever been insulted and stayed calm? Watched someone expect you to explode, and instead you just looked at them? That's silence doing the damage. It's unsettling. It makes them wonder if you're planning something, if you're gone for good, if they've lost access to you forever. Silence triggers imagination, and the imagination always exaggerates. That's influence at its peak. Try this. Next time someone disrespects you, don't text back. Don't explain. Don't post online. Don't defend yourself. Let the silence say, "I've already decided." That stillness will do what no speech ever could. It will communicate confidence, control, and dominance. This isn't passive aggressiveness. It's active power. It's the refusal to entertain chaos. Machiavellian leaders don't fight battles that offer no gain, and most arguments, no gain. They're emotional traps, verbal quicksand. Once you step in, you're stuck. Silence allows you to exit without confrontation. It gives you leverage. People wonder where you stand. They guess. They panic. And in that panic, your absence becomes more powerful than your presence ever was. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally cold or robotic. It means understanding when words serve you and when they serve your opponent. If a response would feed someone's ego or explain something they already know, it's a waste. Save your voice for strategy. Make your silence your default. Let people work for your attention like it's currency. And here's the twist. Once you've mastered silence, the next level is even more unsettling to others. It's when you vanish completely. Not just your voice, but your presence. You don't just stop speaking. You stop being available. And that's where the real fear begins.
Disappearing is not running away. It's repositioning. Machiavelli knew that presence creates expectations, but absence creates power. When you're always available, people get used to you. They expect responses. They assume access. But the moment you vanish, completely and without explanation, you shake their world. Why? Because now they don't know what you're thinking. And in the realm of influence, the unknown is always feared. The strategic disappearance is not about ghosting. It's about reclaiming energy. It's about cutting the emotional umbilical cord that kept you tied to chaos. Think of every time someone disrespected you and you still showed up. Every time you offered closure to people who only offered confusion. That wasn't loyalty, it was emotional self-sabotage. Now, you disappear with intention. Here's the move. When someone crosses your line, don't argue. Don't warn, don't threaten. Just vanish. No goodbye, no speech, no text. Just distance. That distance becomes a mirror, and what they see in that mirror will haunt them. It'll make them question their actions, their words, their importance in your life. That uncertainty, that's dominance, that's self-leadership. Apply this in your daily life. Got a friend who only calls when they need something? A partner who pushes boundaries over and over again? A coworker who drains your mental space? Don't confront, withdraw. Create absence and observe. See who comes looking. See who changes. Most won't. But the data is clear. Those who don't notice your absence never deserved your presence. Machiavelli would say, never reward betrayal with attention. Attention is a form of power, and those who betrayed you should not benefit from your reaction. Disappearing is the ultimate refusal to be emotionally manipulated. It tells the world, I owe you nothing. And that kind of clarity is terrifying to people who thought they could control your emotions. The man who can disappear is dangerous. He proves he's self-sufficient. He proves his peace doesn't depend on anyone's approval. And that's exactly what makes others chase. Not because you begged, but because you detached. In the game of influence, detachment is checkmate. And silence followed by absence, that's the finishing move. But don't get too comfortable in this stillness, because the next trap is subtle and far more dangerous. It's called loyalty, and if you give it to the wrong people, they'll weaponize it against you.
Loyalty is sacred, but only when it's mutual. Machiavelli warned, misplaced loyalty is the fastest path to ruin. Most people cling to the idea that loyalty equals virtue. But in the realm of power and influence, loyalty given without qualification becomes a weapon against you. The more loyal you are to the wrong people, the less authority you have over your own life. How many times have you defended someone who would never do the same for you? Covered for their failures, made excuses for their disrespect? That's not strength, it's emotional captivity. Leaders don't pledge loyalty out of guilt or habit. They choose it strategically. True self-mastery means learning to differentiate between those who walk with you and those who weigh you down. Ask yourself this: who are you protecting? Who gets the benefit of your silence, your forgiveness, your patience, without ever earning it? Those people drain your emotional currency while offering nothing in return. And the longer you stay loyal, the more you lose leverage. That's not noble, that's self-neglect. Try this. Audit your circle. Who supports you when you're not useful to them? Who respects your boundaries? Who makes deposits into your emotional bank, not just withdrawals? Loyalty should never be given based on history. It should be based on alignment. Just because someone's been around doesn't mean they belong in your next level. Machiavelli believed in calculated alliances, not blind devotion. Your loyalty should never be louder than your logic. If someone consistently puts you in positions where you have to choose between your peace and their comfort, choose yourself. That's not betrayal, it's survival. And survival is the first law of power. Here's the truth. The ones you protect the most are often the ones who exploit your protection. They count on your silence, your forgiveness, your unwillingness to burn bridges. But when you finally stop showing up, they collapse. Not because you hurt them, but because they lost their shield. You were never just a friend. You were cover. And when cover disappears, chaos sets in. So now, sharpen your awareness, because loyalty isn't the only thing people abuse. Next, they'll demand explanations. They'll act entitled to your thoughts, your reasons, your story. And that's when you need to master the next rule of dominance. Never explain yourself to those who haven't earned the right to understand.
The moment you start explaining yourself, you start giving away power. Machiavelli knew that clarity isn't always strength. Sometimes it's exposure. Every explanation is a map of your mind. It tells people what drives you, what justifies you, and what weakens you. And in the hands of the wrong person, that information becomes a weapon. Power isn't about being understood. It's about being respected despite the mystery. Most people over-explain because they want to seem fair, reasonable, even likable. But in doing so, they become transparent, and transparency makes you predictable. The world respects those who move with certainty, not those who constantly justify. Your silence should say, "This is what I've chosen." That's all you need to know. Because the moment you give a reason, you invite debate. And debate erodes dominance. Here's something you've probably seen. You explain your boundaries, and they push harder. You explain your decision, and they question it. You defend your values, and suddenly you're on trial. Why? Because you gave them a foothold, a way in. The Machiavellian mind doesn't explain, it moves. It speaks only when words provide strategic advantage. Otherwise, silence. Try this. The next time someone asks, "Why didn't you respond?" Just smile. Don't answer. Let the silence linger. Let them guess. Their discomfort is your leverage. When they don't know what you're thinking, they begin to fear what you might be thinking. And that unknown is more powerful than any justification you could offer. This doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means being selective. You don't owe explanations to everyone, especially those who wouldn't understand even if you gave one. Save your words for those who've earned your trust. For the rest, let your actions speak. Authority is built in what you don't say. Machiavelli taught that power is preserved through opaqueness. You reveal only what helps your strategy. You conceal what protects your peace. Don't hand people the manual to your mind. Let them misunderstand. Let them assume. Let them overthink while you execute. That's how you stay 3 steps ahead. And yet, there's one more move they won't see coming. It's not silence. It's not withdrawal. It's final. It's ruthless. It's when you don't just stop speaking, you burn the entire bridge behind you.
Closure is a myth. It's a story we tell ourselves to feel in control. But Machiavelli knew that in the realm of power, open doors are liabilities. When you leave a bridge standing, you leave yourself open to manipulation. Apologies, explanations, second chances, they sound noble. But they're often just invitations back into chaos. Burning the bridge means no return, no contact, no weakness. How many times have you gone back just for one last conversation, one last message, one last attempt to be understood, and every time it drained you more? That's not growth, it's emotional regression. The strong man doesn't negotiate with ghosts. He doesn't wait for validation. He ends things completely, not because he's cold, but because he's clear. This is strategy, not spite. When you burn the bridge, you take away their power to re-enter your life with false promises or unfinished business. You stop giving them access to your peace. That silence, that disappearance, it's not passive, it's a declaration. A psychological wall that says, I've moved on, and you're no longer part of my story. Practical tip? Delete the number, block the account, remove the photos, cut the line. It's not petty, it's protection. Machiavellian influence is built on focus, and you can't focus when part of your mind is still tethered to the past. If they disrespected you once, they'll do it again. Don't wait for proof. Disrespect doesn't need a second audition. Some will say it's too harsh, that you should leave room for forgiveness. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. You can forgive quietly, without reopening the gate. In fact, true forgiveness often requires absence. Let them wonder, let them feel your silence like a weight, because the longer they feel it, the more they realize they've lost something they'll never touch again. Burning the bridge also protects your future. It clears space for new alliances, stronger boundaries, and deeper self-respect. You're no longer stuck negotiating closure with people who never deserved a hello in the first place. You walk forward lighter, sharper, untouchable. And that freedom becomes the foundation of true leadership. But there's one final evolution. Beyond silence, beyond distance, beyond destruction. It's not about who you remove, it's about who you become. A version of yourself that no longer flinches, no longer explains, no longer feels controlled. It's the brutal art of indifference.
Indifference is not apathy. It's precision. It's the decision to care strategically, not emotionally. Machiavelli would say, power belongs to the one who cannot be moved. The indifferent man doesn't react to insults, flattery, guilt, or praise. He moves according to purpose, not provocation. And in a world that thrives on emotional triggers, that makes him dangerous. Most people are addicted to being liked. They want to be seen, heard, validated. But that need becomes a chain. And every time someone pulls it, you follow. Indifference breaks that chain. You no longer seek approval. You no longer explain your silence. You no longer flinch when misunderstood. You become the eye of the storm, calm, focused, and immovable. Here's how you build it. Stop responding to every message. Stop engaging every disagreement. Let people feel your absence without explanation. Start small. Next time someone tries to guilt-trip you into a reaction, smile and say nothing. Let them wrestle with the silence. That stillness is your shield and your sword. Indifference isn't about being heartless. It's about protecting your energy like it's gold. When you give your emotions to the wrong people, you bankrupt yourself. The indifferent man doesn't spend his peace on people who haven't earned his presence. He doesn't react to bait. He doesn't explain his distance. He simply exits and never looks back. Remember,
The most dangerous man is the one who doesn't need closure, the one who doesn't need to be understood, the one who burns the bridge with a smile and walks away without a trace. That man is unreadable, unshakable, untouchable. And when people can't predict you, they can't control you. That's where true power lives. Think about it. When was the last time someone confused your silence for weakness and then panicked when you didn't return? That fear they felt, that wasn't about you. It was about them losing control. Indifference forces people to face their own emptiness, and most aren't ready for that mirror. So, from this moment forward, don't aim to be liked. Aim to be respected. Cultivate presence that speaks without words. Build influence without effort. And if someone dares to test your silence, let them. Because by the time they realize who you've become, it'll already be too late.
So now you've seen it, the truth that most people will never face, that caring too much is a risk, that silence is strategy, that power is not about being loud, but being untouchable. But the real question is, what are you going to do with all of this? Are you going to keep explaining yourself to people who already made up their minds about you? Will you keep chasing closure from people who benefited from your confusion? Or are you finally ready to burn that bridge and become someone they can't reach, can't read, and definitely can't control? Think carefully. Who drains your peace? Who manipulates your emotions? Who's still holding power over you simply because you haven't walked away yet? This is your moment, not to react, but to act, not to argue, but to disappear, not to be liked, but to be respected. Let me know in the comments, what's one thing you're going to stop justifying from now on? Write it, claim it, own it. You never know who's reading and needs to see that strength. And if this video made something shift inside you, if it made you rethink the way you've been giving away your power, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This is just the beginning of a transformation built on strategy, emotional discipline, and complete self-respect. There's a video appearing on your screen right now and also linked in the description. Watch that next. It's the perfect continuation of what you've started here. And trust me, it will hit even harder.